Grafana, as many of you know, has been gaining steam in the last few years as a powerful open source dashboarding solution that has expanded into an observability platform with enterprise tier capabilities. I'm delighted to have the guy that started the Grafana project back in 2014, and today he's the co-founder and chief Grafana officer at Grafana Labs, joining us all the way from Stockholm, Sweden, Torkel Ödegaard. Welcome, Torkel. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you, Mike. My name is Torkel Ödegaard. I am from Stockholm, Sweden, and I'm going to talk about Grafana. Give you a quick intro to kind of what Grafana is and why it's been so popular, and what we're up to, and some of the exciting, some of the things I think are going to be exciting in the coming kind of years in the observability space. So let's get started. What is Grafana? For those of you who haven't seen it or walked past it back in the time when you maybe went to an office, Grafana started its life as a dashboarding data visualization tool with a focus on kind of beautiful graphs and time series metrics, working with application metrics and monitoring. Maybe some of you recognize it better with its default dark UI, which is my preference. Grafana started really as this dashboarding data visualization tool with a really nice, easy to use UI to build these dashboards and create queries for time series databases. It started as an open source project that I started back in 2014. And I've been working on this kind of almost nonstop, it feels like, for the last 7 years, still committing code almost daily. And it has, during that time, become one of the biggest GitHub projects with over 40,000 stars and over 1,000 contributors. And we also have a company that I'm going to talk about a bit soon, but with many full-time engineers just working on this project alone. And to give you a sense of the adoption of this project, we have some kind of anonymous user stats for those who don't turn it off that give us a sense of how many people use this. So over 700,000 installations running, and in those we have close to 5 million users. So as I mentioned, there is a company as well that is kind of powering and supporting the open source project and building products on top of it. And chief among them is Grafana Cloud and Grafana Enterprise. And these are kind of fully featured observability solutions, both for like as a SaaS service and on-prem. We also have other open source projects in Grafana Loki and Tempo, and we contribute heavily to open source projects like Cortex and Prometheus. So back to Grafana. So Grafana is more today than just a dashboarding tool. It's really a fully featured observability platform for metrics, logs, and traces. And kind of really focusing on connecting them and making the navigation between them really tight. It also has support for alerting and notifications, so you can define alert rules and get notified when certain queries cross certain thresholds. Another really key thing about Grafana is it's an open platform. It has plugins for data sources and visualizations, and this is really key kind of culture and strategy for Grafana to be this open platform. So by default, Grafana ships with support for many of the popular open source data sources, so for time series metrics, but also for the big cloud data source providers and for SQL databases as well. And we have a large plugin catalog as well that supports data sources like Redis. So this data source is developed by Redis Labs. It is provided for free, and with it you can monitor Redis, both the open source and enterprise versions. And it has support for many of the popular kind of modules in Redis, like the time series, search, graph, and gears modules. And with if you have a Grafana subscription, you can use the Grafana Explorer for Redis Enterprise to automatically discover all the databases managed by your Redis Enterprise deployment. This data source is also really unique in that it's one of the few real data sources that uses the Grafana streaming capabilities. So yeah, which is really cool. Back to kind of why Grafana has seen this amazing adoption these last couple of years. It's many factors, chief among them being actually not these, but that Grafana supports so many data sources. So many users can actually use this tool. But beyond kind of supporting so many data sources, the other key factors is really kind of the rise of DevOps and the fact that we as developers, or at least I'm a developer, we have during the last like 15 years or more, I mean, like more and more complex systems, more complex production environments, clustered systems, distributed systems, microservice architectures. And all this kind of, we want to change all the time. We want to have continuous delivery. We want to deploy and modify this system multiple times a day. And all these factors has really kind of increased the demand for good observability of this kind of complex changing system. And that's really been one of the chief missions for Grafana and Grafana Labs is to provide you with the tools and building blocks to gain you that observability. And one of the ways we are kind of working on this is like, really getting the workflows and navigation paths between your metrics, logs, and traces to gain you that observability. But looking beyond that, some of the key things that we're kind of looking at or working on right now or excited about for the future is like improving the workflows for dashboards as code. We know a lot of our users like to kind of check in their dashboards along with the application or infrastructure that they're monitoring. And we really want to kind of improve this workflow. It's something that Grafana supports today, but I think this is going to be kind of having this be part of the work, improving the workflows here is going to be really key for the future, I think, and something that we're looking into. Other kind of things that I'm excited about is expanding Grafana beyond these kind of DevOps and observability use cases and going into kind of more into BI and IoT. We know Grafana is heavily used in other kind of domains because it's very open-ended kind of domain agnostic tool in its core, but we really want to make Grafana better for these kind of new use cases. And part of that is like really making Grafana support high frequency streaming. So being able to support like 20 updates per second to multiple graphs directly from hardware. It's really kind of pushing the platform in interesting ways. We have to optimize everything. So that's kind of an interesting or exciting thing we're working on right now. And Redis is actually one of the few data sources that is taking advantage of the work we've already done to support this. And lastly, the thing that I'm also sort of maybe most excited about, but this is maybe the thing that is most forward-looking here. I want to look beyond dashboards or look kind of. I want to make data applications that and so something that much more dynamic than the current dashboards you have. So the thing that I'm exploring here is like building an application framework for building data applications. And that's something I'm super excited about, to sort of give you super easy to use kind of tools and libraries to build data applications that allow you to have much more dynamic drill down and contextual kind of features that go beyond what you can do in the current dashboards.